One of the best things I love to see in the NBA is how some players are able to shatter preconceived labels given to them so early on in their career. Anthony Edwards was drafted with the #1 pick by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and during the first part of his rookie season, many people are already throwing the word around calling Anthony Edwards a bust. So it's fun to see how now you fast forward 2 years and Ant is being projected in his 3rd year to become the best player on his team, and a lot more people are ready to say that Ant will be taking an MVP/superstar leap next season. But are these expectations really fair to place on Ant? Expecting him to take a leap like this is a very tall task to ask, since only a few of the all-time greats were actually able to do so. So can Ant actually achieve this? First, to start it off, Anthony Edwards is one of the rare players that has the ability to pair his speed, strength, and athleticism and translate that to unrivaled slashing. Ant's quick first step for his size shouldn't be possible. He has a great low center of gravity when he's attacking the rack that it almost seems like he's teleporting to the basket because of how quick he gets there. His burst after a crossover or hesitation makes it hard for a defender to stay in front of him consistently, and he has a great anticipation on when and where he should apply his burst. But that's not what makes it mind-boggling. It's really his strength and athleticism. Ant is listed at 6'4" and weighs about 225 pounds. And on his drives, it just seems like if you don't put a viable wing on him, he's bullying pretty much every other player out the way, and he can finish great through contact. A guy who's built like a football player, having this level of speed and strength seems like enough, but Ant still has the ability to jump over most players while still sneakily having very good elusiveness and footwork. He has a great way of maneuvering through the defenders and finding angles to get to the rim that makes it seem like getting to the rim for Ant is an easy task. Like here, you have this play where he gets a screen from Cat and he does this slight hesitation that freezes up Jared Allen just long enough for him to burst to the rim for the left-hand layup. Or here, Ant attacks Kuminga's top foot, and as he's getting to the lane, GP2 comes to help, and Ant just gives him this slight push to create some space, and he does, and he gets this layup off for the deuce. And on this one, Ant is coming off the screen, he attacks the middle of the floor, and Ayton jumps vertically up, and Ant displayed very good hang time in the air and great touch that even with the good defense being played, it was unbothered for Ant and it resulted in 2 points. Here, he gets a screen right from Naz Reid, and as soon as he gets near the rim, he does this gather step to maneuver around Sabonis for the nifty 2 points. This was beautiful display of footwork by Ant. Instead of just trying to muscle his way to the rim, he does a beautiful gather step to create space for the layup. And now he's matched up with Zaire Williams on the right wing. He attacks the rim going right and somehow contorts his body in the air in a way where he's able to get this reverse layup off for 2 points. Anthony Edwards has always had very good body control in the air when he takes off, and in the air, having great hang time means you're going to have way more ways to finish over a defender than say somebody else whose hang time isn't as good. Now, let me clarify to you guys, Ant finishing isn't perfect. It's an area that he still does need a bit more improvement. He shot 63% at the rim, which is still a little bit below the league average, and this is due to how sometimes Ant needs to dial it back a bit and play smarter when he's attacking the rim and not just solely rely on his strength and athleticism all the time. But this is an area that I have practically no worries for Ant, mainly due to how talented of a slasher he is and how he already has all of the tools to become a better one. He just needs to refine and work at creating more counters and creative finishes to be more efficient when he's attacking the rim. Yet for as good of a slasher Ant has become, I would say the biggest improvement he's made this year was his 3-point shooting. Ant coming out of college was widely regarded as a streaky shooter, and he might have the potential to become a good one. In his rookie year, he shot 32% on 7 attempts, and he boosted that this year to 36% on 8 attempts. And that might not seem like a huge improvement, but if you're just strictly looking at the 3-point percentage, yeah, he only increased by 4% and shot 1 more attempt. But that actually goes a long way. Ant's shot quality from 3 isn't the normal catch and shoots and coming off ball screens. his 3-point shot attempts are mostly coming from his own creation. Ant majority time is going to shoot pull-up shots, step backs, side steps, and threes off the high pick and roll. Ant is shooting a high degree of his shots contested with a hand in his face. And to make matters worse, it's not coming off somebody else's creation, it's from his own. That's why Ant shooting 36% from 3 can be more valuable than a Kevin Love shooting 39% from 3, because he's taking more difficult shots and he's still hitting them on a very respectable rate. And when you see Anthony Edwards in isolation, you notice a very promising indicator in his isolation game. Ant averaged 0.91 points per possession in isolation, and when you filter it to players who have done it at least 200 times, Ant is ranked 14 among all qualified players. This is an area of the game that Ant could really strive at for the next however long he plays. I brought it up earlier in the video how Ant utilizes his great speed and strength on drives, and that it's really hard to keep him out of the paint. And additionally, Ant actually uses his driving threat to be able to shoot his threes. Ant usually gets comparisons to Dwayne Wade, mainly because of his lightning quick first step and just his overall speed on the court. But I also think he should get some comparisons to James Harden. When you're watching the off dribble threes Ant attempts, you see a lot of similarities to James Harden, mainly on the step backs, just the way he probes and slowly goes in between the legs multiple times before stepping back to create some space. It's almost like you're watching a doppelganger. And we saw how valuable his scoring arsenal really was when it came time in the playoffs. Now, it was only 6 games, so the sample size really isn't there, but the numbers he put up was very, very impressive. Ant averaged 25.6 points per game on 45% from the field, 40 from 3, 82% from the free throw line, and had a 60.4 true shooting. And there were 2 things I really noticed that really impressed me in this series, and that was his mid-range shooting and defense. Ant in the regular season was a terrible mid-range shooter. He shot 33%, and so far he just hasn't found a comfortable spot in that aspect in his scoring yet. But we saw in the Memphis series some flashes and how he looked more comfortable there. And he shot 58% in the mid-range in the playoffs, but it is on very limited attempts, but it still did show me some promising indicators, mainly because this upcoming season he's going to be playing with one of the best screeners in the league in Rudy Gobert, and Rudy's going to create a lot of space for Ant through his screens, and it could lead to an uptick in his scoring if he can become a better mid-range shooter, because it's going to open up the game up way more for Anthony Edwards, because defenses are going to have a very hard job trying to contain someone who's this multifaceted in their scoring. And his defensive potential really showed out in the playoffs, especially whenever he was sticked on John Morant. He just looked more locked in and showed a lot of effort more than he showed during the regular season, since he was very inconsistent on that end. Ant has a really good frame, so it's hard for defenders to just outmuscle him on drives, and he can absorb the contact really well and turn some of those shots at the rim to breathtaking blocks. However, the talent isn't the problem with Ant's inconsistency. It was mainly because he would have trouble ball watching and he would occasionally miss rotations, and his screen navigation right now is just terrible. Although I still definitely have high hopes for his defense, and he could still eventually become an all defense caliber defender, because he has the tools to be a good defender. He has the size, he has the speed, but it really comes down to how committed will Edwards be on that end. Now, there's still one more aspect in Anthony Edwards' game that still needs to improve before I'm ready to start pushing him in the MVP talks, and that's his playmaking. I've seen a lot of people be 50-50 on this, and some are very extreme, like on both sides of the spectrum. Some believe that Edwards can truly develop to becoming one of the premier playmakers in the league, while some believe he'll just be another Carmelo Anthony. Where I fall on the scale is somewhere in the middle. I still believe Ant can become a good playmaker, mainly due to how good a slasher I think he'll become and how much rim pressure he already generates. If Ant can continue to garner a lot of defensive attention on his drive and consistently get 2 feet in the paint, is going to create a lot of open shots because defenses are going to shrink the floor more on Ant, and they're going to force him more to kick out passes. And the problem with that for Ant right now is that he showed too many times when he has the opportunity to make the play, he would instead elect to force the shot, which is undoubtedly a form of scoring blindness, where he isn't thinking of trying to create a play for others, but instead trying to score for himself, which actually hurts some of his offensive value. Although, with that being stated, I still expect him to become a more willing passer of the basketball and eventually become a good playmaker, because the more experience he adds on now through his career just means he's going to be getting put in more scenarios where he's going to be asked to create plays for his teammates. But does this all really guarantee that Anthony Edwards have MVP/superstar potential? I mean, Ant has improved in a lot of areas in his game. His shooting, finishing, defense, decision making have gotten better from year 1 to year 2. However, he will need to improve an even greater amount from year 2 to year 3 to put him in serious MVP talks. It's still something to be seen, but I have a lot of hope that Ant has recognized a lot of his flaws in his game right now and has been working to try to improve as a player, since honestly he's one of the most fan favorite players out there, and you're seeing majority of the mass start to see that he can truly become one of the greats of this game. So let me know if you guys think Anthony Edwards has a serious chance of becoming an MVP in this league, and if the expectations that are being placed on him right now are truly a fair thing to ask of him. Let me know all that in the comments section below. So before you guys leave, make sure you guys hit the like button since it helps my channel get recommended more. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at DreamHoops so you guys can keep up with what I'm doing when I'm not on YouTube. So with that all being said, I hope you guys all have a blessed day.